Oh, where'd it go? So as everyone's joining, why don't you guys drop in the chat where you are in the world, where you're zooming in from? New Hampshire, very nice. New Jersey, Denver, San Jose, Virginia. Oops. Okay, I'm just gonna start recording this. Hmm. Okay, well, hopefully Fathom is recording it. All right, I'll give just a couple more minutes for other people to enter, and then we'll go ahead and get started. There we go. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started, and then as people join, they can join. So today we're going to be talking about how to be taken seriously in tech when you're the only woman in the room, because that happens a lot, or maybe you're not the only, maybe there's maybe one or two more, but the majority of people in the room are men. So that can make it a little bit challenging. So you are in the right class today. You're in the right place. If you are maybe feeling a little underestimated or being overlooked is a little too familiar for you. Sometimes you're talked over in meetings when you're the only woman in the room, or when you speak up, it feels like you're just actually shouting into the void and you're wondering, is anyone even really listening? Or sometimes when just getting credit for your ideas feels 1,000 times harder than it was to even come up with the ideas to begin with. You're in the right place if you have a daily debate inside your own head going, do I lean in or do I just stay in my own lane? Maybe you're wondering if being nice is blocking leadership opportunities for you. And I'm going to guess a lot of you feel like working twice as hard for half the recognition is just normal and status quo. And if you're ready to stop playing small, start commanding the room without changing who you are in the right place. Why do you want to pay attention? Well, because the tech industry is booming. It's 5.2 trillion, not billion, trillion-dollar industry. And in the US, we have the largest tech market in the world. 28% of people in technology are women, and 5% of tech CEOs are women. So that means the opportunity for women in tech is unprecedented. It's a wide open field, and it's just waiting for you to step in, lead, and reshape the future, but on your terms. So imagine if you could do the work you love, only work the hours they pay you for, and earn more than you could ever imagine while making the impact that you know you are capable of. And have time to recharge. Do the things you enjoy. Read, eat well, reconnect with yourself, with nature, with your friends. And you could do all of that without being the token woman in the room, without having to prove yourself over and over and over again. You can do that without having to smile through all the little microaggressions that you experience in every meeting. You can do it without getting passed over for promotions you know you're qualified for, or having worked 60 hours just to get them, or just to be seen like a team player or that you're dedicated. You can have all of that without spending most of your time navigating office politics, without having your ideas dismissed and then hearing Chad repeat them, and then there's suddenly a great idea. And most importantly, you can have all that without sacrificing your mental health, your family time, your creative energy, just to climb a ladder that you weren't even the one that built. So my goal for today is to save you years of frustration, burnout, and unnecessary struggle. By learning how to be taken seriously, you can create a career and a life on your terms, and you can unlock success sooner with this advantage. Tell you a little bit about me. So I'm Susie Lawrence, and I've worked in tech for over, I'll just say 25 years plus. I don't need to give you a specific number over 25. It's a lot. I've worked for global firms like Capgemini, mid-market firms. I've worked for startups. I actually started my career in talent acquisition and tech, and then moved into leadership, and then from there moved into business development. I've owned my own recruiting firm. I'm going to tell you, it's just never felt easy to be myself. I have often felt like the underdog and have been overlooked and underestimated, even though deep down I knew that I was definitely destined for more than what people thought I might be capable of. A little bit more about my story. Like, the first time I ever lost a job was during the Great Recession. It came as such a shock to me. Like, oh my God, I can do a good job and still lose it. And then from there, that's when I decided to open my own recruiting firm. And I did quite well with that, working with clients in tech. And I ended up going back into corporate life when a client that I was doing business for wanted me to come work with her. And it was a woman-owned business. And so I felt really good about that. And so that got me back into the corporate world. And then from there, I transitioned into sales, and I did really well in that. I sold one of the largest deals in the history of the company, and they decided not to pay my commission because the delivery wasn't going well. So I've experienced a lot of bias and discrimination in my career and have been able to overcome it. So I left that company, and I thought, this is certainly not the right culture for me. So I'm going to find a new place. Well, I learned that the bro show is everywhere because the new company I went to, it was like jumping out of the frying pan and into the fire, because this culture might have been a little bit worse. I was the #1 salesperson in the company, and I got placed on a performance improvement plan because I challenged the CEO. So my husband had just been diagnosed with cancer, and I lost that job. So I had a crossroad in my life, and I needed to decide what to do. I had a choice to make. I could either get another job in tech, or I could take everything I've learned and help other ambitious women in tech to rise. So I chose that. And I started my coaching business. So fast forward to today and how my life has changed. I walk into rooms like I own the damn building. I don't wait for permission. I say what needs to be said without asking for permission or approval. And I elevate other women in tech to make more noise, more money, and more impact simply being themselves, owning their talents and experience. This is my little slide about all the things I've done lately. I have spoken for women in technology, women in high tech, women in sales, and talked on all different topics about how to overcome your self-doubt, how to train your brain for success, and how to bounce back after a layoff with confidence and resilience. So most of my clients typically land jobs that make at least 250K, and I just like for any of the younger women in that office or maybe earlier career to just think about how your life would change if you were making more money and what you could do with that money. I'm probably going to contradict what most career coaches tell you. All the pale and stale career coaches out there tell you you should find a mentor, and then you can just hope that they magically open some doors for you. Or you can just go to your boss and get them to sign off on your career goals like they're doing you a favor. Or this is the worst one of all, that you can just think that you're just going to let your work speak for itself, because that doesn't really happen. Or you can just say yes to every opportunity, and you can just say yes to everything that's asked of you so that you can seem very eager and like a team player. Or you can play the long game and just trust that the system will reward you eventually. Or just keep your head down, work hard, and wait for your turn. But that stuff doesn't work. And you are in the wrong place if you just want a magic fix without thinking you have to do any work to make it different. Or you can wait for the system to change, but at this rate, we're going to be waiting a really, really long time for that to happen. Because with the rollback of DEI, we're going backwards instead of forwards. Or maybe you're content to just blend in, keep your head down instead of standing out. Maybe you believe your boss is actually going to reward you for your hard work that they maybe don't even know about. And you're definitely in the wrong place if you're offended by a little bit of salty language and maybe some occasional typos. And you're definitely in the wrong place if you're going to get upset when I make my offer to work with me after I've spent an hour sharing my time and expertise. So just know that's coming. I want to start out by talking about, kind of in the first place, why we don't get taken seriously. And the biggest reason is bias. Bias, conscious bias, unconscious bias, it's still alive and kicking out there. There are a lot of outdated beliefs about leadership, expertise, and authority, and all of that still favors the men, even when women outperform men. And I'll tell you why. It's because those beliefs and that thought leadership was created by men. So it's definitely going to favor men. There are so many double standards out there. When you're a man and you're assertive, you're strong. When you're assertive as a woman, you're difficult or too aggressive or too abrasive, or maybe you need to soften your tone, or I mean, there's so many things. Sometimes women do a lot of invisible labor. So we call it in the state of Indiana, Hoosier humble. Like, I'm down to earth. I don't want to brag. I want to be humble. So what happens is you do a lot of work behind the scenes and it doesn't get rewarded because it's not visible and it's not seen. Women have been conditioned to second guess. So we have hundreds of years of being socialized and conditioned to prioritize being liked over being heard. We've been taught that our value comes from our productivity and what we do for other people. And so after years and years of this kind of thing, this just the self-doubt gets internalized. We just take it on. And so it's easy to start believing that we have to work harder just to be perceived as being good enough. And none of this is our fault. Like, it just has evolved over many, many years, but fixing it is our responsibility. Like, you have to take ownership if you want to get to where you want to go in life. And I know it sucks. So, what can we do to be taken seriously in tech when we're the only woman in the room? Let's get to that. That's the meat. That's what everybody is here for. So, if you want to be taken seriously as a woman in tech, the number one thing you have to do is you have to take yourself seriously. No one else will take you seriously if you don't take yourself seriously. And the best way to do that is to train your brain. You have to manage your brain so that your brain does not manage you. And we're going to talk more about what that looks like. And the third thing is you have to take full responsibility for your career, the good, the bad, the ugly, your strengths, your weaknesses, how you can improve. You have to get in the driver's seat of your own career. And you have to set boundaries and protect your energy. Everyone knows we're supposed to set boundaries, but the tough part comes after you set the boundary and you start to get the pushback. Like, oh, you're not doing everything I want you to do for me anymore? Darn it. And then the last thing is you need to speak up, own your voice, own your value, and you need to do whatever you need to do to get where you want to go. And so at this point, I have talked about and promoted my special guest, Melissa. So Melissa Boyle is joining us, and she is the Chief Technology Officer for LexisNexis Intellectual Property Services. And go ahead, Melissa, say hi and tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Hi guys, thanks Susie. I'm so thankful that you invited me to be a guest speaker here today and to join you on this. I've had the pleasure of working with Susie and she's done amazing things for me. So I'm really excited for all of you to hear a little bit more about what she offers as well. But just a little bit about me. I started my career as a software engineer. I was the only female in my graduating class, and probably about 3 years before and another 3 or 4 years after. So I have a computer science and math degree. I've been in software engineering for, I'll just say, more than 2 decades as well.
We don't need to age ourselves.
I feel like you stopped counting after 2 decades these days. And I've worked my way up. I've been a software engineer, so I've been hands-on, got my hands dirty, rolled up my sleeves, worked my way up through tech lead and architecture, and then started to make my way into more of the business side with program management and working with our stakeholders and product folks. Been through many transformational roles, driving cloud, agile, and overall just engineering best practices, passion for change management, as well as mentoring and coaching folks. I've been in the global space for a very long time, as well as many different industries. I think, one of the things that has been helpful for me is really navigating a lot of different industries across the time that I've been in this industry. So, and then now I am lucky enough, and I probably shouldn't say lucky enough. I get to call myself a Chief Technology Officer. I've worked very hard to get where I'm at, and I'm very proud of that. And it's great to be here, and I look forward to sharing some of my insights and journey with you as well.
Thanks, Melissa.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the first one. The first way I mentioned to be taken seriously is to take yourself seriously, because no one else will do it until you do. You have to stop waiting for permission. A lot of times we wait for a lot of external validation, our little gold star, someone to tell us how great we are before we take ourselves seriously. But to get to be taken seriously in the room, you have got to own your skills, own your expertise. And that all starts with what happens in between your two ears. You got to speak with authority. You've got to own your voice in meetings and stop apologizing. And the number one thing that I often see women do is they apologize and they say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not that technical." Like, I don't even know what that means. You work in technology, you're technical in some way. I mean, do you not write the code yourself? That doesn't mean you're not technical. The other tip I would say is you've got to own the room before you even speak. And you've got to take yourself seriously and you've got to take up space. And I mean, there's like a physical way to take up space. Like if you watch a man walk into a room, they're all, "Hey," and then they take up physical space. We've all know what man spreading is. That is men taking up more physical space. So when you walk into the room and you sit down at the table, you have your seat at the table. I mean, you don't want to sit far away from the table. You don't want to hide in the corner. You want to take up your space in the room. Um, Melissa, what do you think you do to take yourself seriously?
Yeah, I think, obviously stopping apologizing is a big thing. I have a joke with my team that they put $1 in the sorry jar every time they apologize, because it is important. The other thing that I find that has helped me is also not saying just, I just do this, or I just want to tell you that. I think as women, we tend to minimize what we're about to say and the impact that we are having, whether it's verbal or written communication, by using the word just. And so oftentimes I will reread things that I write and make sure that I'm not minimizing what I'm saying. And I think that is one of the key things that I've been working on and practicing over the last several years, is to make sure that I don't minimize the impact of things that I want to say to somebody by using the word just too often. And it's interesting, men don't do that. There's been studies done where women often do that because it helps them to feel a little bit more comfortable, or they feel less than. And so by taking that word, that one single little word out, is super important, and rereading what you're writing and making sure that you're not minimizing it by using that one tiny little word, I think has certainly helped me. So
Yeah, just is one. I mean, that's definitely, you got to kill all the qualifiers. So you have to drop just, sorry, but, no sorry, but. Um, you've got to use just more powerful language in expressing your ideas. I also think it also helps too sometimes to speak first, take the lead, not last, get in early. Um, so the longer you wait, the harder it is to shift the energy. So it's easier to go in and own your expertise out loud. It's also good to stand by your decisions when you make a choice, back it up comfortably. Don't say things like, "I'm not sure, but maybe if." So definitely leveling up your language is a game changer. Oh, going backwards. Canva. So I'd like to do a little exercise. I want you to complete this sentence in the chat. I know I'm taking myself seriously when I stop what? Or if I fully took myself seriously, I would finally, what would you finally do? Just look in the chat. So I know I'm taking myself seriously when I stop apologizing. I know I'm taking myself seriously when I show up and I take up the space that I deserve. Those are some examples. The next one, and this one is my superpower. You want to be taken seriously, you have to train your brain. And I love to talk about how the brain works because your brain doesn't care about your dreams, your career, or your goals. It only cares about your survival. Most of our thinking is done by our subconscious, and that skews toward the negative. So if you want to get ahead, you have to train your brain and you have to become aware of what you're thinking and what's going on in the background, what your subconscious is thinking, what it is that's stopping you from taking yourself seriously, what's causing that self-doubt, what are those thoughts going on in the background. And I'm going to tell you, the brain has a lot of neuroplasticity. So the second that you notice the thought like that, just noticing that thought actually creates new neurons and a new pathway in your brain that lead to your prefrontal cortex now because you've noticed. And then what you can do is you can start to train your brain and you become aware of those thoughts and aware of the feelings. Like that's where it is important because those thoughts can sabotage your confidence. And so if you can change those thoughts, it's going to create a different feeling in your body that is maybe going to cause you to feel more confident. And so it's really important to train your brain. The other thing I will say that impacts that is your actual physiology. So kind of your state of mind is a combination of your thoughts that create your feelings and your physiology. So sometimes I just tell people to just if I asked you all to just stand up right now, I would be curious of what your actual posture, position would be. I'm going to do it. Like if I just stood up, like maybe I'm just going to stand here with like my hands clasped in front of my body. Like that's not a very powerful position. That doesn't make you feel powerful. That doesn't do anything for your confidence. That's physically shrinking and not taking up space. But if you stand up and you do maybe the Wonder Woman pose, I know people think it's corny, but it legitimately works and it is backed by science. Your physiology impacts your feelings. So it's really important to cultivate awareness, and that is definitely something that will help you be taken more seriously. So as we think about our brains and we talk about it, and we talk about those thoughts running in the background, like I want you to just take a couple minutes and think about some of the thoughts you might be having about whether or not you're taken seriously. And are those thoughts moving you towards your goals? Or are they holding you back? And if they're holding you back, let's just take a couple minutes and come up with some new thoughts that help support our goals. So Just pop some in the chat. I think the thoughts that help me in my career the most have been about owning my own expertise, trusting my own knowledge that I know what I'm talking about, and just fully embracing that. I mean, there's really nothing more powerful than owning your own value and what you bring to the table.
Yeah, one of the things that I've learned through the years is really about your brand and who you are and who you show up as. And I've been told throughout my career, you're not technical enough. You don't show up as technical. You don't show up, as somebody that will ever be in a CTO position because you think you're technical, but you're not. And I think, Susie, to your point early on, what does that even mean? Like, what does it even mean to not be technical enough? And, you know, my brand is what is what I continue to promote and how that's moving me toward my goals. Am I the most technical person in the room? No, but that's not what my job is, right? What my job is to define a strategy and to help drive things forward in an organization and care for the people. I have other people on my team that are smarter than me and still way more technical than I am because that's their job. And so I think one of the things that I've done in terms of continuing to make sure that I'm moving myself towards my goals is to keep mind of what my brand is and who I want to be and how I want to show up in the room, on the video, in the world. So that's, I think, one of the biggest things I've learned.
Yes, I absolutely agree with that. And that just moves us right into the next one. You have to take full responsibility for your career. And that means taking responsibility for your personal brand and what you're bringing to the table. I mean, we can sit back and we can talk about all the bias and we can blame others and we can blame the system or lack of connections, but your career, your choices, you have to own them. You have to own your mistakes. And I think that does give you more credibility and people do take you more seriously when they see you in the driver's seat of your own career. If you are sitting back, letting it happen to you, following whatever path is being laid out for you, I mean, when you just appear to be along for the ride, people definitely don't take you as seriously as someone who sits in the driver's seat of their own career. So it's important to set goals. It's important to create a roadmap for where you want to go. And it's important to track your progress. That's also part of training your brain. Like, you don't want to just look at here I am now and here's where I want to go, and I'm just focused on this big gap. There's this big gap in between. What you have to do is you have to focus on the gains along the way. And all of those gains and celebrating all of your wins, no matter how small they are, they all feed into your feelings of confidence and competence because it takes both. And that makes it a lot easier to take ownership of your career. And when you said, Melissa, don't get nervous, I do update my resume a lot. It doesn't mean I'm going anywhere. But whether you're updating your resume or you're literally just have an Excel spreadsheet, I think it's really important to keep track of your own wins.
Yeah.
One, for your own knowledge. Two, so that you can create visibility for yourself within your organization by communicating what it is that you've actually achieved. Because if you just do it in a vacuum in the dark closet, nobody knows about it and it doesn't really serve you as well as it could. But you can't advocate for yourself if you aren't actually keeping track of what it is that you've done. And actually advocating and creating visibility for yourself is another way that helps you be taken seriously when you're the only woman around. The other thing I would say is actually having a point of view. That leads us into the next one. So I take full responsibility for my career, therefore I will what? What will you do? Put it in the chat. What can you do to take full responsibility for your career?
I think for me, one of the things that I've done is reflect on the mistakes along the way. I've had a couple of years where I was changing jobs quite frequently because I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I also didn't know if I could achieve, it was scary to try to achieve a CTO role. And so I bounced around a lot. And I think those are the ugly parts of of my journey, but I learned a lot from them. And I think taking responsibility is for me was really looking at those years and what I could have done differently to either avoid those going forward or the same mistakes going forward, and learn from those mistakes, because I think that's probably the hardest thing that we can do is look back and really dig into the mistakes that we've made. It's always great to learn from the wins, but I think the bigger and better lessons are from our mistakes that we've made along the way. So,
Absolutely. We learn so much more from our mistakes than we actually do from our wins, because sometimes when our wins occur, women like to attribute them to luck sometimes. Well, I
mhm,
got really lucky. To get lucky, you worked your ass off. But I will say, if you're going to go back and look at your mistakes, as everyone should, I'm going to go back to number 2, where you have to train your brain.
mhm.
When you go back and look at your mistakes, you need to go back and look at your mistakes with the same compassion and grace you would give a small child. You don't want to go back and beat yourself up, because you cannot berate yourself into success. That is not how it works. You have to have compassion, and most of all, you just need to be curious. Like, how could this have gone differently? What could I have done without all of the self-judgment and the self-loathing? Because that will hold you back really more than anything else. Like, you have to be kind to yourself. It's really important. And then the last one, it's really important to set boundaries. And I think that that also gives you more credibility and helps you be taken seriously. Like, we often think it's the opposite, but like, people that own their own power have strong boundaries. They know what they will and won't do. When you have no boundaries, you're almost just kind of seen like a pushover. Like, well, we can ask her, she'll say yes. She says yes to everything. So it's really important to learn to say no and to, again, train your brain. You got to train your brain not to feel guilty about it, because that is just, there's so much conditioning that we've experienced as women that we need to unlearn. We need to unlearn all the conditioning, unpack all of this pressure we put on ourselves, and create some boundaries and protect our energy, because we do our best work when we are in a place of good energy. So it's really like, if it's not a hell yes, it should be a no. So I'm going to let Melissa talk about this, because I know we worked on some boundaries.
Yeah, I mean, so for years, right? And I'll never forget one of my old bosses saying, my superpower was also probably my biggest downfall was they could literally put me anywhere and I would plug and play and was the fixer and all the things. But because I would just continue to do, thinking that would help drive me forward, it actually ended up being detrimental to me, because when big strategic projects would come along, folks didn't know if I could actually handle something more strategic because I was just fixing everything around me. And so saying no and actually starting to focus on more strategic initiatives, and showing that I could do that was a game changer. In addition, and what Susie is probably referring to is, I work very early hours. I support folks in Europe, and so I start very early and I stay very late in the day. What I've been starting to do midday now again is take a break and get out for either a walk, or I'm a competitive swimmer, so I can go swim, or I go to yoga, and I don't feel bad about it. I need that break. I need that break to basically show up for the rest of my day. By 5, 6 o'clock at night, I'm exhausted, so I'm not going to go do that then. I start at 6 a.m. in the morning, so I'm not going to the gym at 4 or 5 in the morning, even if it's open. So really taking that break in the middle of the day, and saying, I've gotta go. It's okay. It's not, I'm not saving the world. I'm not saving lives, thankfully. And setting that boundary. And there's folks that work with me on my team know, I've had it. I'll say, guys, I can't have any more conversation that's strategic today. Like, my brain is fried. Can we talk about this tomorrow? And I used to feel bad about that because I felt like I needed to give everybody my time and my space and my energy. But what I've realized is that I wasn't actually being as present for them as they needed me to be and as I needed to be. And so setting boundaries has also given me the ability to be a better leader for them, because I've said, I can't do this right now. My brain is not in this, and my energy is not in this. Can I give this to you tomorrow? And I think that has been something that I've worked really hard on in the last couple of years, to make sure that I'm showing up for folks that are also on my team as well as myself.
Yeah, I mean, it's really important to know your limits, because in recognizing when you need to recharge and then doing it without guilt, because, you know, being an effective leader is like showing up as your best self. And you can't do that if you don't protect your energy and your time. And you need to like have uninterrupted work hours, schedule those breaks, and you need to protect them like they are the sacred space that they are, because you are worth it. So, while we're talking about boundaries, I want to hear in the chat, what would you stop doing if you weren't afraid? Like, let's just be honest. We say yes because we're afraid to say no. It feels unsafe. So, what would you stop doing if you weren't afraid? I mean, for me, it's like hardcore boundaries on what happens after hours. Like,
Yeah.
no, there are no emergencies happening at 10 p.m. that can't wait until the next day. I mean, they're just like, what are you going to do about it? Nothing, really.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I started to stop doing was, I start now at 6 o'clock in the morning, but there was a period of time of the last year where I would be on calls at 4:30 in the morning, because I was afraid that if I wasn't starting and overlapping with my, product counterpart who sits in Germany, I would be missing out on, meetings and things. And oh my gosh, if he gets on a meeting and he knows about it before I do, and how's that going to look for me, and I'm not showing up as the partner. And so but I realized I was burning out, because that would mean I'm up at 4 and on by 4:30, and not just on, but on video, and really starting my day. And I had to stop that. And I did it because I was afraid. And when I stopped being afraid of what I'm missing and what I'm missing out on, I was able to say, you know what, 6 is a reasonable hour for any human to start work, and
Right. And
overlap.
did you
So
even really miss anything? Were your
no,
fears even true?
no, it wasn't true. It wasn't true. Because I also learned to start to trust my team that sits in Europe to update me on things. And so when I would come online, I would have the updates that I needed, and I didn't need to be there, and realize that I can't do that, and it's just not the right thing. So, but that was something that I did because I was afraid, for sure.
Right. Because your brain is a dirty little liar. That's the way our brains work. It's not because we're broken or there's anything wrong with us. It's that this is just how our brains were made to work. And we think that because we think it, it must be true, which is like, it couldn't be mostly anything further from the truth.
Yep.
So the next one, if you want to be taken seriously, you have to speak up. And you need to do whatever you need to do to make it work for you. So, what do I mean by that? Like, ask for what you deserve. Do you need a raise? Do you need a promotion? Do you need more responsibility? Do you need less responsibility? Ask. Don't wait for it to come to you, and voice your opinions. This is what I'm talking about. If you want to be taken seriously, they have hired you. They expect a point of view from you. So being afraid to share your opinions is not, it's just hiding, and it's not going to get you what you want to get. Your perspective is valuable and you need to share it. Like, sometimes I tell myself, not only do I need to share it, I'm obligated to share it. Like, people need to know what I have to say. And that's a whole different reframe to get you to speak up and say what you need to say. Like, I feel obligated to help women meet these challenges. So I have to speak up and say my truth. So, and you have to be willing to take risks. Like, you can't let the fear get the better of you. Like, maybe it feels risky not to go to every meeting, but you have to be willing to try to do something different if you want to get something different. So you have to go after it with confidence. And whether it's a big project or the next big move, the most important thing is that you have to take some sort of action. So I want to know what you guys are prepared to do to get what you deserve. Put it in the chat.
So I'll talk a little bit about when I got this role. I was interim, so my predecessor needed help, and I was in a different role, doing more transformational and tech excellence type of work. And I had been asked to go dig into a project that had been completely off the rails, and so long story short, my predecessor had given his resignation, and I said, "Great, can I step in, even just as interim, to see if it's something I want to do and if it's something that I'm a fit for?" And went through the interview process and acted in the role for about 5 months before they made a decision. And so that was very daunting. But I think had I not stepped up and asked to step in and be interim, I don't believe they would have looked at me as the first person for that role, for this role. And so I think, yeah, I mean, stepping up and saying, no, I deserve this, I can do this, and I'm the person, certainly was the springboard for me to be in this role. So scary to step up and ask that question, but we
It
have to
is,
have
but
that.
it beats just sitting and waiting in
Yes,
the shadows for someone to come shine a spotlight on you and go, "Oh, we've seen
absolutely.
all your hard work, Melissa. We think we should
Right.
offer you this job." Like, I think
That would have
sometimes
never
it's
happened.
like a Disney fairy tale that we
Yeah.
think is going to happen, that's how people get promotions, that they just like recognize all of your hard work and give you what you deserve. But it's the people that ask for what they want and create a plan to get it and put them in the driver's seat that gets you where you want to go.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
So all of these things we've talked about, this is the approach that works for me, and it's also the approach that works for my clients. And I just have some of them up here and a little bit about them. The first person is my client, Elizabeth, and she's younger. And so we definitely work with her on, she's like, how are they going to take me seriously? Like, I'm young and I'm a woman. I'm like, well, the first thing you have to do is take yourself seriously. So we've been working on that. She is positioned to take on a much larger role within her company. The CEO has like tapped her to take over the company when he retires. So I've been working with her. The next client there is April, and I have worked with her on training your brain, how it works. We have shifted her thinking, and together we worked on like not playing small and going after big goals. And she is currently killing it in her sales role. And here's Melissa. She's one of my clients, and she definitely takes full responsibility for her career. So I'll just let you talk a little bit, Melissa, about what it's been like to work with me as a coach.
Yeah, it's been what I needed. Susie has really met me where I'm at. Every session is different in that you don't know how you're going to feel that day, and you don't know necessarily if you're wanting to do the work, right? At least I didn't, because you're exhausted or you've got 1,001 other things on your mind, and Susie meets you where you're at. And I think that's super important. One of the things that I think has been really helpful for me is the direct approach that she has. Being an technologist and an introvert and somebody who is pretty direct themselves, I appreciate the direct nature. I have had other coaches where it felt more like, I'll say, and no disrespect, but it felt more like therapy. Like, tell me how you feel today, or tell me. And I think, Susie does a lot of that, but also gets you to come out with what's really going on, and get to the point pretty quickly, and then gives you tools and techniques within each session to basically work on that, so that in the next session you can talk about some of the the progress that you've made. And so no, it's been great. And is always available. I will say, I think, yeah, your boundaries off hours, you probably can work on that because you are so available to us, which is great, but probably not so great for you. So yeah, it's definitely been a game changer for me, because as I mentioned earlier, I went through a pretty rocky period in my career, and didn't really know if I would stay with technology. And having the support and kind of that guidance has been really helpful to get me where I'm at. So it's been great.
Thank you, Melissa. So I'm Melissa mentioned working with me as coach. So now I'm going to introduce the opportunity to work with me. So the name of my coaching program is the Zero F's Club. I think you know what that means. So what is the Zero F's Club? Well, it's an intimate, supportive community of ambitious, high-achieving women in tech. Women that want to land bigger roles, bigger deals, bigger paychecks. Women that want to that have mastered the game and now want to take off their armor that they've built throughout their career and lead as the authentic badasses that they are. And so we're all in it together. So through that, I do private one-on-one coaching. I'm launching a group. So I'll be doing group coaching. And in the Zero F's Club, we have a community. I'm going to launch a community, and there's a workbook to help you move through all the different phases that I talked about and like how to master them. And really mastering your mind is like one of the most important things you can do. Mindset is seriously more important than almost anything else you'll do in your career. And getting your head in the right space to help you achieve your goals is so important and worthwhile. I know you're thinking, I don't have enough time because I am super busy, but I get it. But this program is designed to fit in your busy schedule with small, manageable steps. And it's an investment in yourself that will save you years of frustration. Sure, everyone can figure this shit out on their own, but I'm telling you, you're going to get there faster if you work with a coach. I don't know if I have what it takes. You do. Your brain's lying to you. I mean, we're going to silence your self-doubt and we're going to cultivate all the confidence that you need. And luckily for you, this is my superpower. Um, this program will teach you to partner with your brain and how to get out of your own way. I can't rock the boat, I'll lose my job. I am not telling you to rock the boat, I'm telling you to steer it. 0 Fs doesn't mean rocking the boat and tipping the boat over. I'm not here to get you fired. We're going to give 0 Fs to all the things that don't deserve any. And we are going to focus all of the things we give enough about on the things that help us. So, which is leading unapologetically. And playing it safe doesn't really lead to security. Strategic visibility does. So I'm going to work with you on how to assert yourself without creating conflict and how to influence without being super aggressive and how to lead without being apologetic. We're going to be unapologetic. So I don't have the money to spend on coaching. Yes, you do, because we're going to get you paid what you're worth. So we're going to go after the promotion, the big projects, the pay raise, the recognition. You're going to learn how to position yourself for roles and the rewards that you deserve. So this isn't really a cost, it's an investment. It's the smartest investment you'll ever make because people talk about ROI, return on investment. I'm going to tell you about ROA, and that's return on advantage. So this is going to be an advantage that you're going to have. Learning how to master these things are going to get you there faster, and it's going to put you at an advantage, and you're definitely going to get your money's worth. So what's in the 0 Fs Club? Well, it's 12 weeks of one-on-one coaching sessions, 12 weeks of group coaching, 12-week interactive workbook, a supportive online community, unlimited emails and DMs with me. I'm going to give you a VIP discount for live events because I'm going to start hosting women's retreats, leadership retreats in very exotic and fun destinations. And then I'll have bonus sessions with special guests. And all of that is a $10,000 value. But today's offer, I'm offering it for $5,000. And I've got, if you, I'm going to give you a couple of options. If you pay in full today, if you schedule a call with me before 11:59, you don't have to do the call today. You just have to book the call today. I'm going to give you a $500 discount if you pay in full for $4,500. I'm also going to offer a 3-month payment plan of a monthly payment of $1,700 a month. And then I am going to do a drawing for all the people here where I am going to give you some 0 Fs Club merchandise. So let's do the drawing. I put all your names in. Okay, Shannon Parker, are you on the call? Oh, no, if Shannon's on. If you're on, speak up. If not, I'm going to draw again because I want a winner that's here. Joe's not here either. Darn it. She had to leave. Okay, let's try again. Put all the names in from the people that registered. Let's see. Okay, not here. Jeez. It's like Wheel of Fortune, but we have a winner, Cassie. You're on the call. Yay. So I'm going to ask you to DM me your address so that I can send you the merchandise. And then I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to put the link. There we go. In the chat for the call with me. So anybody that wants to book a call, I put it in there in the chat. And we could talk about how I can help you and what what we can get for you out of the Zero Apps Club, because everyone has different issues that they'd like to work on in their career. So thanks everybody for joining me today. Why don't you put it in the chat what did you like the best in the discussion today? What did you learn? Yeah, the Zero Apps Club. Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you, everybody. Does anybody have any questions? No. Okay. Great. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Take care. Thank
Bye.
you.
Yeah. I think it went pretty well. No.
The tomato plants were growing already.
Mhm.
Small turn of basil. You just want to go outside. Mommy made plans. You gotta go.
Okay, bye.